The vast emptiness of deep space stretched before the Starlight Seeker, a gleaming vessel of the galactic concordance that represented the pinnacle of interstellar exploration. Commander Lyra, a seasoned navigator of the Astral Collective, studied the holographic displays with her characteristic mix of curiosity and caution. Her species had mapped thousands of star systems, encountered dozens of civilizations, and prided themselves on their comprehensive understanding of the universe. But today would be different. The ship's advanced sensors had detected an anomaly. A small vessel drifting near the edge of the Crimson Nebula, a region typically avoided due to its intense radiation and unpredictable stellar winds. Most exploration teams would have dismissed the contact immediately. The vessel appeared primitive, its hull configuration unlike anything in the Concordance's extensive database. Enhance visual, Lyra commanded, her translucent fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The view screen flickered, revealing a vessel that looked almost archaic. Its exterior showed signs of multiple micrometeor impacts, and its design seemed to reject the sleek, organic curves typical of advanced spacefaring civilizations. Instead, it was angular, almost brutally functional, with exposed maintenance panels and a hull that appeared to be constructed from multiple disparate materials. Junior Science Officer Krell leaned forward, his multiple sensory tendrils quivering with excitement. Preliminary scans are unusual. The vessel's composition doesn't match any known technological standard. It's simultaneously primitive and inexplicably complex. Lyra's secondary optical receptors narrowed. Something about the ship felt wrong. Not dangerous, precisely, but unsettling in a way that defied immediate explanation. Communication protocols, she ordered. Attempt standard universal frequency bands. Krull's tendrils moved rapidly across his station. Moments passed. Then, unexpectedly, a response began to take shape. Not a typical greeting, but a series of encrypted transmissions that seemed to dance around the edges of comprehension. The message was unlike any first contact communication the Concordance had ever received. It wasn't an invitation. It wasn't a threat. It was something in between. A warning encoded in layers of mathematical complexity that seemed to suggest multiple potential interpretations. Translate, Lyra commanded. The ship's artificial translation matrix struggled. Fragments emerged. Approach with caution. Technological assessment incomplete. Defensive capabilities not fully represented. Krull's excitement transformed into something closer to confusion. Commander, these transmissions, they're deliberately ambiguous. It's as if the sender wants us to understand something without directly stating it. The human vessel made no attempt to maneuver. It remained perfectly still, a silent sentinel against the backdrop of swirling cosmic dust. No active weapons systems were detected, yet something about its stillness felt like a predator waiting, perfectly camouflaged. Standard protocol suggests we establish direct communication, commented Navigator Zhen, the eldest member of the bridge crew. But something feels inappropriate about direct approach. Lyra agreed. The ship radiated an aura of contained potential. Like a coiled spring waiting to release its energy, it suggested capabilities far beyond its apparent design. The micrometeor impacts on its hull were telling. They showed signs of self-repair that shouldn't be possible with such an apparently outdated design. Passive scan, she instructed. Maximum sensitivity. I want to know everything about that vessel without triggering any potential defensive systems. The Starlight Seeker's sensor arrays extended, thin tendrils of energy probing the human ship with microscopic precision. Each scan returned more questions than answers. The vessel's internal structure seemed to shift subtly, as if responding to the investigation in ways that defied immediate comprehension. Krull's voice broke the growing tension. Commander, I'm detecting something strange. The ship's internal temperature, power distribution, even its electromagnetic signature. They don't align with any known technological standard. It's like the vessel is thinking. Before Lyra could respond, another burst of encrypted transmission erupted from the human vessel. This time, The message was clearer, though no less cryptic. Observation noted. Capabilities under assessment. Proceed with caution. The bridge fell silent. They had been judged, evaluated, and warned, all without a single direct communication. Something profound was happening, and the Galactic Concordance was about to discover that everything they understood about technological superiority was about to change. Inside the seemingly unremarkable human vessel, an entirely different reality unfolded. The ship's internal systems pulsed with a form of intelligence that defied conventional understanding. At its core, an advanced artificial intelligence processed information at speeds that would have overwhelmed most known computational systems. Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez sat in the central command hub, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to anticipate his thoughts. The ship's true nature was nothing like the primitive exterior suggested. Every system was a carefully crafted deception, a multilayered shield of misdirection designed to mask the vessel's true capabilities. "Status report," Marcus murmured. Though no crew member was physically present, the ship's intelligence responded instantly, its voice a neutral blend of algorithmic precision and human-like understanding. Alien vessel maintaining passive scan. Probability of detecting core systems, 0.03%. Adaptive camouflage at maximum efficiency. The U.S. Horizon was more than a ship. It was a living, thinking entity, a prototype that represented the pinnacle of human technological innovation. Developed in the most secure research facilities on Europa, the ship incorporated breakthrough technologies that had been kept secret from even most government agencies. Marcus remembered the development process. Years of clandestine research, of pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and adaptive materials science. The Horizon was designed for a singular purpose: to serve as humanity's first true deep space exploration and defense platform. Inside the ship's core processing center, quantum algorithms worked in perfect synchronization. The adaptive systems continuously analyzed the Galactic Concordance vessel's scanning techniques, developing countermeasures in real time. What appeared to be a simple research vessel was actually a sophisticated intelligence-gathering platform capable of dismantling entire fleet networks. Incoming scan pattern shift, the ship's intelligence reported, adjusting molecular structure to minimize detection probability. The hull of the U.S. Horizon began to subtly change. Microscopic adaptive materials shifted their molecular alignment, reducing electromagnetic signature and thermal emissions. To any external observer, nothing would appear to change. Yet the ship was effectively becoming invisible, not through traditional stealth technology, but through an unprecedented level of adaptive camouflage. Marcus pulled up a holographic display showing the Concordance vessel's sensor readings. Each scan was being carefully managed, with only the information the human team wanted to be detected actually becoming visible. It was a technological magic trick of unprecedented sophistication. "Extract preliminary psychological profile," Marcus instructed. The ship's intelligence began compiling data. The alien crew's communication patterns, sensor methodology, and response times were being analyzed with microscopic precision. Every minute detail was being transformed into actionable intelligence. A secondary system began working on linguistic and cultural analysis. The encrypted messages sent earlier were not random. They were a carefully constructed communication designed to provoke specific responses. Each transmission was a probe, testing the alien crew's cognitive processes and technological capabilities. "Fascinating," Marcus muttered. The alien vessel's crew was clearly advanced, but they operated under a set of technological assumptions that humanity had long since transcended. Their scanning techniques, while sophisticated by galactic standards, were predictable, exploitable. The ship's quantum processors continued their work. They were developing potential intervention scenarios, mapping out every possible interaction with the Concordance vessel, not as a preparation for conflict, but as a comprehensive understanding of potential outcomes. Probability matrices complete, the ship's intelligence reported. Recommended interaction protocols compiled. Marcus reviewed the data. Thousands of potential scenarios had been analyzed in milliseconds, each one mapped out with a level of detail that would have been impossible with traditional computational methods. The U.S. Horizon wasn't just a ship, it was a living, thinking strategic platform. Outside, to the Galactic Concordance, the vessel remained a mysterious, seemingly primitive object. Its true nature remained hidden, a predator perfectly camouflaged, waiting and watching. The quantum processors continued their silent work, analyzing, preparing, understanding. Humanity's first true deep space intelligence had arrived, and the universe was about to change. The tension on the Starlight Seeker's bridge grew with each passing moment. Commander Lyra watched the mysterious human vessel with increasing unease. The standard protocols for first contact seemed woefully inadequate against this enigmatic presence. "Prepare standard communication sequence," Lyra instructed, her voice calm despite the growing uncertainty. Navigator Jen raised a cautionary tendril. "Commander, I recommend extreme caution. The vessel's previous transmissions suggest an unpredictability that concerns me." Before anyone could respond, the communication systems erupted with a burst of activity. The human vessel was no longer passive. Something was changing. On the bridge of the U.S. Horizon, Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez monitored the developing scenario with calculated precision. The ship's advanced intelligence had mapped out potential interaction scenarios with meticulous detail. This moment was not about aggression, but about communication on their own terms. "Initiate first phase response," Marcus murmured. The Concordance vessel's sensors suddenly detected a subtle shift in the human ship's energy signatures. It was almost imperceptible, a quantum-level adjustment that would have gone unnoticed by less sophisticated technology. But the Starlight Seeker's advanced scanning systems caught the briefest hint of something extraordinary. "Energy spike detected," Krell reported, his sensory tendrils vibrating with excitement and apprehension. "But it's unusual. Not a weapon signature. Something else entirely." Lyra leaned forward. The human vessel was preparing something, but its intentions remained opaque. Suddenly, a targeted quantum pulse erupted from the U.S. horizon. It was a masterpiece of technological subtlety, a burst of energy precisely calibrated to interact with the Concordance cruiser's systems. The pulse didn't destroy, it didn't damage. Instead, it temporarily disrupted the ship's secondary communication and navigation subsystems. The effect was immediate and startling. Holographic displays flickered. Communication channels momentarily dissolved into static. Navigation systems experienced a brief controlled interruption. It lasted less than 3 seconds, but its message was crystal clear. "We can reach you. We can touch your most sensitive systems, and we choose not to cause harm." "Status report," Lyra commanded, her composure momentarily shaken. Krell's hands moved frantically across his control panel. "All systems are recovering. No permanent damage. But Commander, that pulse, it shouldn't have been possible." The quantum pulse was a demonstration of unprecedented technological capability. The human vessel had reached across space and touched the Concordance ship's most sensitive systems with surgical precision. It was a warning, a demonstration, a message that spoke volumes without using a single word. "We are not what we appear to be." Marcus watched the alien vessel's reaction through the horizon's advanced sensor arrays. Every movement, every communication burst, every subtle shift in energy was being analyzed in real time. The quantum processors continued their silent work, calculating potential responses, understanding the psychological impact of their actions. "Psychological impact assessment," Marcus requested. The ship's intelligence responded instantly. Alien crew experiencing multiple emotional responses. Primary reactions: confusion, mild fear, intense curiosity. Probability of aggressive response: 12.4% and declining. On the Starlight Seeker, the bridge crew struggled to comprehend what had just occurred. Commander Lyra's mind raced. The human vessel had demonstrated a level of technological sophistication that defied their understanding. It had reached out and touched their systems without causing harm, a demonstration of capability that was both a warning and an invitation. "They could have disabled us completely," Jen muttered. "But they chose not to." Lyra nodded. The message was clear. This was not about conflict. This was about communication on terms that the Concordants had never encountered before. The U.S. horizon remained motionless, its apparently primitive exterior hiding systems of unprecedented complexity. The quantum pulse had been a carefully calculated move, a chess piece placed with surgical precision on an interstellar game board. Humanity had just introduced itself to the galaxy, and the introduction was nothing like anyone had expected. Deep within the most secure command center on Earth, a team of strategists and scientists monitored the unfolding first contact scenario. The room hummed with advanced technology, holographic displays showing real-time data from the U.S. Horizon's deep space mission. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, lead strategist for the Interstellar Response Division, studied the incoming data with intense concentration. Her team represented humanity's most advanced tactical minds, experts in sinology, quantum communications, and strategic analysis. "Concordance fleet response is predictable," she murmured, tracing the movement of alien vessels on the holographic display. "They're preparing a standard intimidation formation." Behind her, a wall of screens displayed multiple layers of intelligence: linguistic analysis, technological assessments, cultural probability matrices. Each screen represented a different layer of understanding about the approaching alien fleet. On the U.S. horizon, Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez coordinated the next phase of their strategic approach. The ship was far more than a simple research vessel. It was a mobile intelligence hub, designed to gather and process information at an unprecedented scale. Deployment of tracking nodes. Marcus instructed the ship's advanced intelligence. Microscopic technological marvels began to detach from the horizon. Each node was smaller than a human fingernail, but contained computational power that would have seemed impossible just decades earlier. They moved with precision, attaching themselves to the communication and navigation systems of the approaching Concordance fleet. The nodes were masterpieces of human engineering. They didn't interfere. They didn't damage. They simply observed, collected, and transmitted. Back on Earth, Dr. Rodriguez watched the deployment with a sense of calculated excitement. "Each node is a quantum communication hub," she explained to her team. "They'll map the entire Concordance communication network without detection." The tracking nodes represented years of secret research, developed in facilities buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. They were the result of breakthrough work in adaptive nanotechnology. Each node could modify its electromagnetic signature, becoming virtually undetectable to even the most advanced scanning systems. Communication network mapping at 37%, a junior analyst reported. The Concordance fleet continued its approach, completely unaware of the technological web being spun around them. Their massive vessels represented what they believed was the pinnacle of galactic military technology. Sleek ships with advanced weapon systems designed to intimidate and overwhelm. They had no idea they were already compromised. Marcus watched the fleet's approach through the horizon's advanced sensor arrays. Every movement, every communication burst was being analyzed in real time. Quantum processors worked silently, developing comprehensive understanding of alien tactical doctrines. Tactical assessment complete, the ship's intelligence reported. The data revealed layers of vulnerability. The Concordance fleet operated on a set of technological and strategic assumptions that humanity had long since transcended. Their communication protocols were sophisticated but predictable. Their navigation systems relied on centralized control mechanisms that could be systematically dismantled. "Prepare comprehensive response protocol," Marcus instructed. On Earth, Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the incoming data. The human response was taking shape, not as a traditional military strategy, but as a comprehensive technological intervention. They would demonstrate their capabilities without firing a single weapon. The tracking nodes continued their silent work. each one a tiny ambassador, collecting information that would reshape humanity's understanding of galactic civilization. Tracking network stability at 92%, the analysts reported. The Concordance fleet drew closer. They believed they were approaching a simple research vessel. They believed they were in control of the scenario. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for years, not through traditional military buildup, but through technological innovation, through understanding, through the ability to adapt and respond in ways that defied conventional expectations. The U.S. horizon remained motionless. Its apparently primitive exterior continued to mask systems of unprecedented complexity. To the approaching alien fleet, it looked like nothing more than a simple research vessel. But it was so much more. The first true test of humanity's capabilities was about to begin. The moment of intervention began with absolute silence. On the bridge of the Starlight Seeker, Commander Lyra first noticed something was wrong when the ship's primary communication array flickered. It was subtle, a momentary disturbance so brief that most species would have missed it entirely. "Diagnostics," she commanded, her voice cutting through the growing tension. Junior Science Officer Krell's hands moved frantically across his control panel. His sensory tendrils quivered with increasing anxiety. "Commander, I'm detecting something, but I can't quite define it." Across the Concordance fleet, similar disturbances began to emerge. Communication channels became intermittent. Navigation systems experienced microscopic glitches. Each interruption was so precise, so controlled, that it seemed almost impossible to be anything but deliberate. The U.S. horizon remained motionless, its seemingly primitive exterior betraying nothing of the technological symphony being conducted across the vast expanse of space. Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez watched the intervention unfold with calculated precision. The ship's quantum processors worked in perfect synchronization, executing a plan developed through millions of potential scenario calculations. Systematic network deconstruction at 24%, the ship's intelligence reported. What was happening was not an attack. It was a demonstration. Each quantum-encrypted signal sent by the tracking nodes was carefully designed to interact with the Concordance fleet's communication and navigation systems. The nodes didn't destroy. They didn't damage. They simply redirected. Navigation systems began to show impossible data. Ships that believed they were traveling in one direction suddenly found their calculated trajectories subtly altered. Communication channels became a labyrinth of misdirection, with messages routed through increasingly complex pathways. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching from the Earth Command Center, explained the strategy to her team. "We're not breaking their systems, we're revealing their vulnerabilities." The tracking nodes were masterpieces of human engineering. Each was a tiny quantum computer capable of processing information at speeds that would have overwhelmed most known computational systems. They moved through the alien fleet's networks like digital ghosts, leaving no trace of their intervention beyond the most microscopic of technological footprints. On the Starlight Seeker, the confusion grew. "Our connection to the fleet's central network is becoming unstable," Navigator Jen reported, his multiple sensory tendrils moving with increasing agitation. Commander Lyra understood something profound was happening. This was not a traditional attack. This was a surgical demonstration of technological capability that defied their understanding of warfare. Marcus watched the intervention with a sense of clinical detachment. The quantum processors continued their silent work, each interaction carefully calculated to maximize psychological impact while minimizing actual damage. "Psychological impact assessment," he requested. The ship's intelligence responded instantly. Alien fleet experiencing multiple emotional responses, primary reactions, confusion, mild panic, increasing sense of technological inadequacy, probability of aggressive response, 7.2% and declining. Across the Concordance fleet, ships began to feel increasingly isolated. Communication became fragmented. Navigation became unreliable. Each vessel found itself cut off, unable to coordinate with the larger fleet structure. The human intervention was a technological magic trick of unprecedented sophistication. Systems were not destroyed. They were revealed. Vulnerabilities were exposed with surgical precision. Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the incoming data. "We're not just demonstrating our capabilities," she told her team. "We're showing them a different approach to technological interaction." The tracking nodes continued their silent work, each one a tiny ambassador, collecting information, revealing systemic vulnerabilities, demonstrating a level of technological understanding that the Concordance had never encountered. Network deconstruction at 76%, an analyst reported. The U.S. horizon remained motionless. Its apparently primitive exterior continued to mask systems of unprecedented complexity. To the alien fleet, it looked like nothing more than a simple research vessel. But it was rewriting the rules of technological engagement. Humanity had just introduced itself to the galaxy, and the introduction was nothing like anyone had expected. The silence that followed the technological intervention was more profound than any weapon could have achieved. On the bridge of the Starlight Seeker, Commander Lyra watched as a series of encrypted transmissions began to flood their communication systems. These were not random signals. They were carefully constructed messages that seemed to peel back the layers of the Concordance's most deeply held technological and cultural assumptions. "Incoming transmission," Krell reported, his sensory tendrils trembling with a mix of fear and fascination. The messages were a masterpiece of psychological warfare. Each transmission revealed a depth of understanding about the Concordance that seemed impossible. They knew communication protocols that should have been known only to the most inner circles of alien leadership. They referenced historical events with a precision that suggested impossible levels of intelligence gathering. Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez coordinated the transmission from the U.S. Horizon's Advanced Communications Center. Each message was a carefully crafted piece of a larger puzzle, designed to provoke specific psychological responses. "Initiate comprehensive cultural decode," Marcus instructed the ship's intelligence. The transmissions went beyond simple communication. They were a systematic deconstruction of the Concordance's technological and cultural assumptions. Each message revealed layers of understanding that cut to the core of the alien civilization's most fundamental beliefs. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching from the Earth Command Center, explained the strategy to her team. "We're not just showing our technological capabilities. We're demonstrating our ability to understand them better than they understand themselves." The psychological intervention was multilayered. The messages revealed detailed historical information about internal political conflicts, precise understanding of technological development challenges, insights into cultural decision-making processes, subtle psychological vulnerabilities in their fleet's communication structure. Navigator Jen on the Starlight Seeker felt a growing sense of unease. These transmissions, they know things that should be impossible to know. Commander Lyra understood the true nature of the intervention. This was not about destruction. This was about revealing, about showing the absolute depth of human capability in a way that transcended traditional concepts of conflict. The ship's quantum processors continued their silent work. Each transmission was a precisely calculated interaction, designed to maximize psychological impact while maintaining a facade of peaceful intention. "Psychological impact assessment," Marcus requested. The ship's intelligence responded with clinical precision. Alien leadership experiencing multiple emotional responses, primary reactions, profound confusion, increasing sense of technological and intelligence inadequacy, probability of aggressive response, 3.6% and declining. Across the Concordance fleet, leaders found themselves confronting a fundamental challenge to their understanding of technological superiority. The human vessel had not just demonstrated technological capabilities. It had shown an ability to understand, to perceive, to know in ways that defied their most fundamental assumptions. The messages continued, each one a carefully constructed revelation that cut deeper than any weapon could. Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the incoming data. "We're rewriting the rules of first contact," she told her team. "Not through force, through understanding." The tracking nodes continued their silent work, each one a tiny reservoir of collected intelligence, revealing systemic vulnerabilities that went far beyond technological capabilities. Intelligence correlation at 92%. An analyst reported. The U.S. horizon remained motionless. Its apparently primitive exterior continued to mask systems of unprecedented complexity. To the alien fleet, it looked like nothing more than a simple research vessel, but it was dismantling their entire conceptual understanding of technological superiority. The messages spoke to something more profound than technological capability. They spoke to a fundamental truth about intelligence, about the ability to observe, to understand, to perceive in ways that transcended traditional limitations. Humanity was introducing itself to the galaxy, not as a military power, not as a technological threat, but as something far more dangerous, a civilization that could see, that could understand, that could reveal. The psychological intervention continued, silent, precise, devastating. The emergency diplomatic session of the Galactic Concordance convened in absolute silence. High Consul Zara Lin, the most senior leadership representative, struggled to comprehend the situation unfolding before them. The human vessel, this seemingly simple research ship, had completely dismantled their most fundamental understanding of technological superiority, not through violence, not through traditional warfare, but through an unprecedented demonstration of intelligence and capability. "We cannot continue our previous approach," Zara Lin announced, her voice cutting through the tension that filled the diplomatic chamber. "Everything we understood about first contact protocols has been fundamentally challenged." On the U.S. horizon, Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez monitored the diplomatic proceedings with calculated precision. The ship's advanced intelligence processed every nuance of the communication, analyzing potential outcomes with quantum-level complexity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching from the Earth Command Center, understood the true significance of this moment. "This is not about conquering," she explained to her team. "This is about establishing a new paradigm of interstellar communication." The Concordance leadership faced an unprecedented choice. The human vessel had demonstrated capabilities that went far beyond military might. It had shown an ability to understand, to perceive, to know in ways that defied conventional understanding. The transmitted messages continued to reveal layers of insight. Each communication demonstrated not just technological superiority, but a profound understanding of the Concordance's most deeply held cultural and technological assumptions. High Consul Zara Lin reviewed the accumulated data the human messages had systematically revealed. Internal political vulnerabilities, technological development challenges, psychological decision-making processes, fundamental communication network weaknesses. It was a comprehensive exposure that went beyond traditional intelligence gathering. The humans had not just observed. They had understood. "We are left with two fundamental choices," Zara Lin told the assembled diplomatic council. "We can attempt to respond with traditional defensive mechanisms, or we can recognize that we are dealing with a civilization that operates on an entirely different level of understanding." Marcus watched the proceedings through the ship's advanced sensors. The quantum processors continued their silent analysis, calculating potential diplomatic outcomes with remarkable precision. "Diplomatic scenario probability matrix," he requested. The ship's intelligence responded instantly. "Peaceful resolution probability, 87.6%. Potential for mutual technological exchange, 72.4%. Likelihood of continued misunderstanding, 12.3%. The human approach was becoming clear. This was not about conquest. This was about establishing a new form of interstellar communication, a demonstration of capability that went beyond traditional concepts of first contact. Dr. Rodriguez understood the profound nature of the moment. "We're showing them a different approach to interaction," she told her team. "Not through force, through understanding." The diplomatic chamber of the Concordance became a crucible of potential. Every assumption was being challenged. Every previous understanding was being rewritten. High Consul Zara Lin made her decision. "We will communicate directly," she announced. We will seek to understand. The U.S. horizon remained motionless. Its apparently primitive exterior continued to mask systems of unprecedented complexity. To the Concordance, it represented something far more significant than a simple research vessel. It was a bridge, a demonstration, a new way of understanding. Humanity was presenting itself to the galaxy, not as a conqueror, not as a threat, but as something far more profound. A civilization capable of seeing beyond traditional limitations, of understanding without destroying, of revealing without conquering. The diplomatic crossroads approached. The universe held its breath. The choice would define a new era of interstellar communication. 6 standard galactic cycles after the first encounter, the relationship between humanity and the galactic concordance had transformed beyond all initial expectations. The U.S. horizon stood as a testament to a new era of interstellar diplomacy. What had begun as a potentially confrontational first contact had become a profound exchange of knowledge, technology, and understanding. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat in the Earth Command Center, reviewing the accumulated data of the past cycles. The initial encounter had been more than a first contact scenario. It had been a fundamental reimagining of interstellar communication. We didn't just meet another civilization, she explained to the assembled researchers. We demonstrated a completely different approach to technological and cultural interaction. High Consul Zara Lin of the Concordance had become an unexpected ally. The diplomatic relationship that emerged was unlike any previous first contact in galactic history. Humanity had not conquered. They had not threatened. They had simply understood. Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez oversaw the continued development of the U.S. horizon. The ship had become more than a vessel. It was a living symbol of humanity's approach to interstellar relations. The technological exchanges were unprecedented. The Concordance brought centuries of accumulated knowledge about stellar navigation and long-distance communication. Humanity contributed something far more valuable. An approach to intelligence that emphasized adaptive thinking, psychological understanding, and collaborative problem-solving. It's not about the technology, Marcus often explained to visiting Concordance diplomats. It's about the approach to understanding. The tracking nodes developed during the initial encounter had evolved. Now they were collaborative tools, helping both civilizations explore the complexities of interstellar communication. What had begun as a defensive technology had transformed into a bridge of understanding. Researchers from multiple species now work together on the collaborative research platforms. The human approach to problem-solving, dynamic, adaptive, psychologically nuanced, began to influence technological development across the galaxy. Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the accumulated data. The initial encounter had revealed something profound about human capabilities. An unprecedented ability to understand complex systems, a unique approach to technological adaptation, a willingness to communicate beyond traditional conflict paradigms, a deep psychological understanding that transcended technological barriers. The Concordance had discovered that humanity's true strength was not in military might or technological superiority. It was in their ability to perceive, to understand, to adapt. The U.S. horizon continued its missions of exploration and diplomatic engagement. Each journey was a demonstration of a new approach to interstellar relations, not through force, not through threat, but through understanding. Zara Lin reflected on the transformation. The initial encounter had challenged everything the Concordance understood about first contact. Humanity had not sought to conquer. They had sought to understand. We expected a threat. Zara Lin often said in diplomatic conferences, we discovered a partner. The technological exchanges continued. Quantum communication systems developed through collaborative research, adaptive intelligence platforms that drew from both human and Concordance approaches to problem-solving. A new paradigm of interstellar cooperation was emerging. Marcus Rodriguez watched the ongoing developments with a sense of profound possibility. The U.S. horizon had become more than a ship. It was a symbol of a new way of understanding. We're not just exploring space, he would tell visiting researchers. We're exploring the nature of intelligence itself. The initial warning. Human warships are fatal, had been true, but not in the way anyone had expected. The fatality was to old ways of thinking, to limited understanding, to narrow approaches to technological and cultural interaction. Humanity had introduced itself to the galaxy, not as a conqueror, not as a threat, but as something far more profound. A civilization capable of seeing beyond limitations, of understanding without destroying, of revealing without conquering. The universe continued to expand, and with it, a new understanding of what intelligence could truly mean. The journey was just beginning.